Great, we're live.
Welcome
to the incoming ninth grade orientation. Tonight, we have the department chairs along with the school psychologists that are joining us. I'd like to also thank the administration team. We have Mr. Hosier, principal, two assistant principals joining us, Ms. Johnson and Ms. Joseph. We also are excited that our superintendent, Dr. Newell, is joining us as well. Thank you very much. Thank you, parents and community members, for joining us tonight. Ms. Moore and I want to thank all of you, the parents, for supporting your children at home during this challenging year. I'm also proud of the 8th grade students for working hard and doing their best on campus or remotely. Ms. Moore and I, along with the administrators and psychologists, are part of the 8th grade team, and we see the teachers working together, being mindful of the unique situation that the students are in this year. Ms. Moore and I remember helping your children transition to the 7th grade almost 2 years ago. The administrators and faculty are now looking forward to welcoming the class of 2025 to the senior high school. Now we'd like to share a slideshow to explain the course selection process. So with our current 8th graders, Ms. Moore and I had a Q&A session right before the midwinter break. And we used the transition time, and it was a good chance to see our students. All of the 8th graders are required to schedule a virtual appointment with us. And Ms. Moore and I started to meet with our 8th graders this week. And it's a great time for us to check in with them about how their year's going. So they meet with us, and we really remind our 8th graders to speak to their parents and guardians, and also ask questions to their teachers too. And then complete the selection form, which is online. The form is due. Please have your children send it in by March 26th. So they should really try to see us before that. And in the springtime, course requests will be posted on the parent portal for you to review. We will send an email out to students and parents about this. And it is really important for you to, with your children, make sure that the courses that you requested are correct on this list. And at that point, any changes that 8th graders want to make must be made by April 13th. And we're really starting to prepare for September. So we would really like to receive the correct request by April 13th. Now, this slide shows graduation requirements for high school. Students need to earn 22 credits by the end of their senior year. And English and social studies, students need to receive 4 credits. So when a 9th grader finishes English in June, taking a full year course, they will earn 1 credit. And same as social studies. Math and science, 3 credits. But our students do end up taking every year more than 3 credits before they graduate. World language, 1 credit. Health, half credit. Art and or music, 1 credit. Elective courses, 3.5 credits. So similar to math and science, world language, and art and or music classes, Edgemont students do enjoy these classes and continue to take these classes, many of the students. The counselors, particularly about world language, really recommend that students take from 9th grade at least 2 credits before they graduate if they're finding success in their world language. And then the elective 3, 4, and 5 credits, there's many ways to earn this. But for example, if a student is going to take more than 3 credits of math, 4 years of math or 4 years of science, for example, or music, they will naturally earn extra 3.5 credits. Now, since we're a public school, there's Regents Exams requirements that students need to fulfill. New York State Regents Exams are state exams, and they are not Edgemont High School exams. Comprehensive English Regents, students usually take it at the end of their junior year. Global History and Geography, usually 10th grade, end of 10th grade year. Algebra 1, usually at the end of 9th grade. Students need to take 1 Regents exam in any science. So for example, if a 9th grader takes earth science, at the end of the 9th grade year, they would take a earth science Regents exam and fulfill that requirement. And students need to pass the US History and Government Regents exam at the end of typically junior year. Students really do nicely on the Regents exams. Our teachers really are aware of what the Regents exams look like, and the classes really make sure that they cover the materials. So our students are generally very successful with the Regents exams. Now I'm going to ask Ms. Moore to continue to talk about the courses for 9th grade.
Hi, everyone. Like Ms. Matano said, it's been great already starting to see many of your children through this process, and we look forward to seeing the rest of them in the coming month. So the 9th grade year, what we shared with your children is, we're working off of the 9-period day, which was our traditional model prior to the hybrid model. If, of course, we need to continue with a different model next year, we will communicate that. But assuming we're back to our 9-period day, and this is just a sample, this is not the order of your child's classes, but just to give you a visual of what it looks like, all students will have their science course. One difference with the high school science courses is there's a lab that meets 2 out of the 6-day cycle, 2 days in addition to, and it will always piggyback the course. So it will either be the period before or after. A lot of students will call this a double science period. So it will be the 80 minutes. So they have the same class group of students and the same teacher, and it gives time for more expansive labs to take place, for discussions, etc. 3 out of the 6 days in the cycle, they'll have PE class. That's true all through high school. And 1 day in the cycle, they'll have a free period. So it's a period where they can choose to, of course, stay on campus, but they can choose to go to the library. They might have an appointment with their counselor or support staff or a teacher. They might get a snack in the cafeteria if and when that's reopened. So I know a lot of the students are looking forward to having that flexibility as they hit high school. Students will all have Global Studies 1, which is their history course. They'll have lunch. One difference with high school lunch is that there's different high school lunch periods. So it's not all of the 9th graders the same period. Students may have a different lunch period, but we know the students are looking forward to having that opportunity again to see friends. And of course, again, pending what things look like for next year, we look forward to that. They'll all have science class, math class, English class. Students will continue in their world language. They do have a choice to change or add a world language as well, but most of our students will continue in the language that they're taking this year. And there's 2 more periods in the day. They're, again, not necessarily periods 8 and 9, but there's 2 windows in their day where they'll have various electives, which I'll talk about in a moment. They might have a free period. Some students may choose to have a free period in their day. In thinking about balance, and particularly if they have extra school activities, they might elect to have that time to work on their academics. And some students will have resource room in ENL, and that's a service that we would recommend and we would share with you if your child has. So I'm going to dive into the electives. This is I think what's most exciting about starting high school is you start to make decisions. Your children start to make decisions in terms of courses that they're interested in taking, they're curious about. We often say the older they get, the more choice they're going to have. So mainly they're going to choose their science course and their electives going into ninth grade. As they get older, they're going to have even more choices to make with their other courses. But for electives, we have some full year course offerings. We have 3 studio and art classes. These are art classes. These are the foundation art classes. They're also prerequisites, which Mr. Cataliato will talk about in a moment, for our future art classes. So many students will choose to take a full year art class in ninth grade because for one, it will open the door for them to be able to take future art classes. It also fulfills their art and music credit for graduation that Ms. Matano just spoke about. So it kind of has 2 perks to taking one of those courses. We also offer band, chorus, and strings. They also would fulfill the music and art credit for graduation, band and chorus, because they do meet daily. And again, some students might choose to take a second world language, so that would count as their elective as well. We also have semester courses. We're offering dance, which is a new course this year, first aid, CPR, and AED, which would train them in all 3. We offer Health 10. Probably note by 10 that it's typically a 10th grade class. We do have it available for 9th graders, and we do recommend, and we spoke to the 8-year students already about it, if they're considering our Science Scholars program, which is a science research program in 10th through 12th grade, we recommend they take health in 10th grade, given how Science Scholars will work in their schedule in the future. We offer the history of New York City, introduction to computer science, nutrition, speech, and becoming mindful. All of the classes, aside from becoming mindful, meet every day for half of the year. Becoming mindful meets for one semester, one set of the 6 days in the cycle. So it's a great class for students to learn mindfulness, de-stress techniques, staying in the here and now, etc. In terms of how many courses the students can take, depending on their schedule and what other courses and supports they might have been recommended for, they can take up to 2 full year art or fine and performing arts classes, or they could take 1 fine and performing arts class and up to 2 semester long classes. And again, we're working with your students when we're meeting with them to talk about their options and what might interest them. So we hope they're looking forward to these choices. I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Cataliato, who's going to talk about the fine and performing arts program.
Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate that introduction. So in 9th grade, as Ms. Moore mentioned, there's much more choice for the students in art. Unlike the 7th and 8th grade art courses, which are survey courses and everybody takes the same class, in 9th grade, students have a chance to specialize. They can take art in 2D, art in 3D, or the STEAM Studio art, which was previously known as Studio and Multimedia. It's important to note that from any of these foundation courses, 2D, 3D, or STEAM Studio, a student can take any of the subsequent semester electives in art or full year electives in art. There aren't necessarily carved out paths, although some students tend to take the same path through some art, like 2D leading to painting and drawing, and STEAM Studio leading to iPhone photography or digital filmmaking, or 3D art leading to advertising and design. But those are not necessarily how things have to go. Once you've taken 1 studio course, you can take any elective in the art department after that. Any of those electives can then lead to digital photography, photo 2, and then AP art, although it is strongly recommended that you start with another either digital filmmaking or iPhone photography course before diving into photography 2. I think at this point we can move on to the next slide for music. Thanks, Lauren. There's band, there's chorus, there's strings, just like there were in junior high, except this time the courses meet every single day. For students who would like to be in more than one ensemble, Ms. Morse, Mrs. Robinson-Chen, and I work out a schedule for those students individually, which is posted weekly so that they can follow it Monday through Friday. It's important to note that strings is tied to the cycle. It's always days 2 and 3, but the band and chorus days are not necessarily tied to the days of the cycle. They are tied to the days of the week in the week that we're in. It varies from week to week. Because the periods are the same for all the ensembles, you can take as many as you'd like, 1, 2, or 3. Beginning in 11th and 12th grade, we do offer AP Music Theory. And while this is a 9th grade parent meeting, I realize that doesn't bear a lot of meaning at this point in time. But if your child is thinking of taking AP Music Theory, it would be wise to begin building some of the fundamental skills that are necessary for that course in advance. So if they have questions about that, they should certainly reach out so that we can set a good foundation for them to be successful with that course in the future. Great. And on to the next person. Here's Liz Scott.
Hi, and thank you. The English program in 9th grade is similar to English 7 and English 8 in that it is a heterogeneously grouped class, and we appreciate that. We do not start honors in English until 10th grade, primarily because our main goal in English classes is to improve communication skills. And we want to be able to communicate with everybody of all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of ability levels. And we find that it really helps to have the group be a mixed group until 10th grade. The course, as you see here in terms of literature, is our most traditional offering. And over the years, we've talked quite a bit and sometimes tried other titles. And we always come back to these because we love them and the students generally love them. And they are ones that we feel are important for students to experience in life and before they go on to upper levels. There is some grammar study in 9th grade, but not as much and not as formal as they have had in 8th grade. Most of the grammatical work will come in terms of their writing, and there is a great deal of writing that's done in 9th grade. Some of it formal essays, some of it more creative, some journal writing. In the 10th grade then, we do branch out a little bit, and those students who have proven to be very strong students and real lovers of literature and writing are recommended for the honors course. There is also a wonderful English 10 course and Global Perspectives, which is combined with social studies, a kind of humanities course that has been offered now for 3 or 4 years, and it has become a favorite of many 10th grade students. Then in 11th grade, there is an 11 honors class. And 3 years ago, we started combining 11th and 12th grade for what we call the selectives. Those are 1 semester courses on a variety of topics. So it's a rich curriculum through the high school years, and one that we feel the students are given plenty of opportunities to explore many different avenues of literature and writing. And up next, I believe, is math with Ms. Gollop.
Hello, welcome. So as you can see in our flow chart, right after Math 8 on, regardless of level, your child will take some form of Algebra 1, whether it's Algebra 1 with Lab, Algebra 1, or Honors Algebra 1. As far as the Algebra 1 with Lab, it's similar to the Math 8 with Lab, where it does have a lab support, usually twice a cycle. The Algebra 1 with Lab and the Algebra 1 class cover, for the most part, the same curriculum, and the lab port is used to support, any additional help necessary. At the end of Algebra 1, your child will take a Regents exam. As you saw initially, 1 math Regents is required for graduation, so they will complete that requirement at the end of their 9th grade year, regardless of which level they are in. As far as school supplies, it's the usual supplies. The one additional supply I just want to give you a heads up on is that we require a graphing calculator, and the one we recommend is the TI 84 Plus Color Edition. And the information about that will come out later with the supply list, but I just wanted to let you know about it. Following algebra, regardless of level, your child will take some level of geometry, whether it's topics in geometry, or honors geometry. There is a pathway from algebra where students can double up. They can choose to accelerate their studies and take geometry and algebra 2 during 10th grade if it fits in their schedule. And what this allows your child to do is take calculus before graduation. So if that is something that they are interested in. In addition to all our pure math classes, we do have some electives. You saw on the initial list that as a 9th grader, your child can take Introduction to Computer Science, which is an excellent course. And then there are 3 AP level math classes that they can take either in 11th or 12th grade. We have 2 different computer science classes, Computer Science A and Computer Science Principles, and we also offer AP Statistics. And that's what math curriculum looks like. So on to science.
Hi. So in 9th grade, the students have the option of taking either living environment or earth science. About 3/4 take living environment, which is what we used to refer to as biology. If students choose this option, then they will take a chemistry class in 10th grade. We offer either general chemistry or an honors class. And then once they finish 10th grade, that's where they now have a number of different options available in terms of the courses that they're going to take in 11th grade. There is an introductory physics class, and this is also now where we start to offer our AP science courses. So we do offer AP biology, AP chemistry, AP physics, and AP environmental science. And as long as the students have maintained an average of a B in their 9th and 10th grade science classes, then they have the availability to take any of those AP classes. Electives are also offered this year, but if you decide to take an elective as an 11th grader, it's going to be as a second science, so it would be in addition to the other science that you're already taking. Our electives rotate between forensics, astronomy, anatomy, and neuroscience. And basically then in 10th grade, students now have the opportunity to take any of the classes, including an elective as their primary science. There is a Regents requirement for science. All of our students will take the Regents at the end of their 9th grade year. So whether they take earth science or living environment, they will take the Regents in that class. We do not offer Regents anymore in chemistry or physics. It's just a local exam. The other science class that is offered is Science Scholars. This is a research course that the students take in addition to their regular class. So if they decide to join, they'll start the program in their 10th grade, and then they'll continue through that through the first semester of senior year. More information about that program will be presented next year. However, if anyone is interested, there is a parent orientation meeting tomorrow night that you can attend or get more information about. And I think that's it for the science program. Next, we'll hear from Dan Schuckett about social studies.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. The social studies curriculum in 9th grade, there are no choices. Everyone takes Global 1, Global Studies 1, which is a full year survey class starting in the prehistoric times and running to the Renaissance. And then in 10th grade, there are a number of choices. Students can take Global 2, Global Studies 2, which is a continuation of Global 1. Students can take AP Euro, AP European History by recommendation of their 9th grade teacher. And as Ms. Scott mentioned, there's also the Global Perspectives class, which is really like a humanities class, which combines the English class and their social studies class into one. And that's been a very popular class over the last few years as we've been offering it. Then in 11th grade, everyone takes American history. They either take regular American history or the AP American history. And all students in 12th grade have to take law and government and economics. Those classes are half-year classes. And they can take either regular law and government and economics, or they can take AP government and politics or AP macroeconomics. In addition to that, as you've already heard, there are some elective classes that students may take. We offer psychology, regular psychology, which is a half-year class for students in grades 10 through 12. We also offer a history of New York City class for students 9 through 12. And there's a class called Current International Issues for 10th graders through 12th graders. These classes run if we get enrollment. And we usually get enrollment for the psych classes. Sometimes we get enrollment for the history of New York and current international issues. If we get enrollment and we can fit it into teachers' schedules, then we can run those classes. So if your kids are interested in them, moving up as they get older, they should ask about them and register for them. We also offer the AP Psychology class, which has also become quite popular with the 11th and 12th graders. So that's what's on the agenda for social studies. Next up is Jonathan Hansenbrook for world languages.
Good evening, everyone. For your children, if they're currently enrolled in one of our 3 languages with either a number, Spanish, Latin, or French 8, or Spanish, French, or Latin 1B, those students will move into the level 2 course. Some students who began Spanish for Communication A this year, they will follow the lettered track that you can see on the right-hand column under Spanish. After the level 2 year, that's the 9th grade year, for the numbered courses, we offer honors courses as the sole option for Latin and French. For Spanish, because there is such a large number of students who take Spanish overall, we are able to offer both an honors track and a regular track. The grammar is presented in a similar format for both the 3 and the 3H in Spanish, but the level of difficulty and depth and rigor in the honors course is obviously a little bit higher than a regular level course. You'll notice that the following year, we offer Spanish 4 or 4H. Students can move between those. Being placed into a regular course or a 3 honors course does not guarantee that a student will automatically be recommended for the same level the following year. We encourage students to take languages throughout, and we encourage students to challenge themselves and push themselves. Our teachers will make recommendations based on student achievement and ability, but the ultimate decision really does rest with the student and the family in consultation with the teachers. As you can see, we do offer a full 4 more years of world language in any of our languages. We strongly recommend that students try to take at least those next 2 years in their language that they started with so they can get into the 3 level. But we understand some students may want to switch, and we're always happy to accommodate students who wish to switch languages. You can do that not just next year, but any year. As Ms. Moore said, students have the elective slots to fill up, and world language is often used for that, for those slots. For the college process, application process, which it's crazy to think that that's on everyone's radar, but at least a little bit it is. Even though New York State requires a single year of world language in high school, the vast majority of our students take at least 2 years, and about 50% will end up taking all 4 years of high school in their language, all the way through either the 5H level, if that's where they started, or if they switch languages, moving into the 3 or 3H level in their language. While we don't officially offer AP courses, the 5H levels of all 3 languages do prepare students for the AP exam if the students choose to do so. The World Language Department has made a philosophical decision to not designate courses as AP, as that would require students to sit for the exam. And we believe that no student should make a decision to not continue in a language that they love simply because they don't want to take another AP course, or they don't feel like they're quite, into taking the language to the point of going for the AP credit itself. So they do have the option in the 5H year, but again, it's not a requirement. Lastly, again, going back to our encouragement of students to take language all the way through, selective and highly selective colleges are looking for 3 and highly selective 4 years of high school language, and they're looking for students whose course of study is diverse. And just because your child may be thinking of focusing in an academic area that may not seem quite related to a world language, one of the things that makes our students stand out is the diversity of academic opportunities that they've had. And the world language program at Edgemont is well respected and quite rigorous. And we believe that as much language as possible will be a benefit to your child, not just for the application process, but for all of their academic activities throughout, as the skills that will make them successful in world language are the same skills that will make them successful in whatever course of study and whatever career path they end up in. Next up, I believe, is Dr. Shapiro.
Yes, just before Dr. Shapiro, we also have our other 2 school psychologists with us, Dr. Greenwald and Ms. Younger, and we'll all be available to answer questions. But next is Dr. Shapiro to speak a little bit about the peer advocacy program.
Hi, everybody. So if you were here a couple of years ago for your kids' 7th grade orientation meeting, you heard Dr. Greenwald and Ms. Stork, it probably was at that time, speak a little bit about child development. We're not going to do that tonight, but we continue to be available for your students, for you. If issues come up, the 3 of us have offices that are available, easily accessible by the kids, and you can reach us by phone or email. I did want to talk a little bit about our peer advocacy program, which is a new program for 9th grade students, and it continues on throughout high school. Peer is a pretty popular program, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to highlight it and talk with you about it. What it is our regular scheduled opportunities for students to meet in small groups, to check in with one another, to get to know one another, learn coping strategies, study communication skills, discuss issues relevant to Edgemont teens, receive general guidance on a wide range of topics. They get that guidance from grade level peers that are in their lunch periods, a kind of a random assortment of them, 2 student leaders who are previously selected in a sort of rigorous selection process that occurs starting around this time every year, and myself. And those meetings, like all clubs, there's a student activities fair in September. And like any other club, there's a sign up. I usually send out a Google form to solicit interest in the program. Participation is completely voluntary. But we usually get a large number of students, as I said before, about 30% of the high school signs up, and usually over 50% of the 9th graders sign up. Why? One reason is because they want to get to know some older kids. They want some guidance. They want to know what high school is like, and they want to ask questions. They're loaded with them. And so it's a real opportunity for that. And one of the things that I have found so rewarding about the program, what the kids have told me, is that it gives them an opportunity to get to know kids that are around them, that are in their grades, who they don't necessarily talk to on a regular basis, and really get to know them in a more in-depth way. It really kind of breaks down some of the barriers that go up once you get into school and kids start forming their own social groups. So it's a real opportunity to kind of break out of that, break out of your comfort zone, meet new people, be vulnerable if you're so inclined to do so, and many of our kids are. And it really offers an opportunity for connection and a way to see yourself as not so different from everyone else in the program. So I highlight this for you so that you can highlight it with your kids and encourage them to do the program. Generally, the groups meet twice per month on the same day of the week in my office in the A building. They meet during the student lunch periods typically. During the current school year, obviously due to restrictions imposed by the pandemic, we've been meeting virtually by Google Meet during the transition periods. But we've had, really good conversations in the same way that we have when we're kind of live and in person in my office eating lunch together. So I encourage you to encourage your kids to get involved. It's been a real sincere pleasure of mine to be involved in this program and to see the kids develop. So I hope you'll consider talking with them about it. Back to Lauren and Junko.
Thank you. So we're going to open it up to question and answer. As I mentioned in the email, we have a Google form. So we see there's some questions already. I'm going to stop sharing so we can be all seen. So again, we have our department chairs. We also have Jane Jacobs, the department chair of special education, with us if there's any questions specific to that. Our 3 school psychologists, our administrators, and Ms. Matano and myself. So I'll start off with the first question, which was, when do you envision opening the school for in-person 100%? Mr. Hojer, do you want to take that one?
I can. Thanks, Ms. Moore. So we are always looking for every opportunity to bring back as many kids in a safe way. We miss having all of the students on campus, and we look forward to an opportunity to have all kids back. Most recently, we were able to bring back grades K through 2 with a full day option. In the short term, we have about 400 students who were remote coming out of the most recent break. Those students were fully remote. I'm happy to report that that number is down to just under 350 students. So short term, we'd love to have more of the remote students come back to the hybrid model and have them on campus. We think there are some real benefits to having students on campus, and we know that students miss seeing their friends, miss seeing their teachers in person. So we are encouraging students to come back from being fully remote. It's important to note that while we think the CDC and Department of Health may change their guidance around 6 feet of distance in the classrooms and on campus, that guidance hasn't shifted yet. There are reports that it might, but they have not done so yet. Just like we did over the summer to plan for the opening of schools in September, we are engaged in planning to figure out what the remainder of the year should look like. We don't have a timeline or exact plan to share with everyone yet, but I assure you that we are working on that. And as we get new guidance, we're going to continue to refine that plan and look forward to being able to share more information with you once we have it. And again, this is about bringing students back in a safe, responsible way. And we do want to and look forward to having more students back on campus. So please look for further communication.
Thank you. There was a question about honors English and why it's not offered in 7th grade, like the honors math. Ms. Scott answered her question during her presentation about the philosophy behind that. So you can always feel free to reach out if there's any additional specific questions you have about that. The next question was, what is the plan for Regents exams in the hybrid model? So your students as 8th graders don't have any Regents to take this year. In terms of this year, if you maybe have some older students and you're wondering, I think we're still, I don't know if Ms. Johnson or Mr. Hojer, I know we're still working a little bit on the details with Regents exams versus the state exams.
Ms. Moore, I'll jump in just to say we received news recently that the state did not receive a waiver for Regents exams. I don't think that necessarily means that we're going to offer Regents exams in the same exact way that we have in previous years. To us, that means that we weren't granted the waiver as a state, but we know that in Albany, they're continuing to have conversations to decide what that will look like. And so I don't want anyone to think, oh, that means we do have Regents or that we don't. They really are in the discussion process right now.
Great. The next question, are nutrition and becoming mindful new
Yes. No, we've offered, they're fairly new courses, so we're still continuing to be excited about them. But nutrition, for example, we've been offering for several years. All of the half-year electives, students can really ask us questions about it. Nutrition's a great class. Students really learn, healthy eating. And it's students who have taken this class have told us that it gives them like a nice balance between the core classes that they're taking. The mindfulness class is one of our newer classes. And, the students who've taken this class, again, I think it's such a useful class, learning new and really great skills to use to de-stress and focus on, themselves. So we've been really happy to be able to offer, a variety of classes when you look at our electives.
Great. The next question is asking if I could repeat the recommendation for health for students thinking about science scholars. So if students are considering science scholars for 10th through 12th grade, we do recommend that they take health as one of their elective options in 9th grade. And that's because the way the schedule works, science scholars would become their elective period in 10th through 12th grade. So the model used to be they would take it the second semester senior year, and we thought it would be more beneficial for them to take it then in 9th grade. So that's one of the reasons we opened the health class up to 9th grade. So if, again, we ask the students if they're considering science scholars to definitely talk with us, and we'll make sure to make that one of their first choice electives for 9th grade. The next question was, how can a student take Algebra 2 with geometry? Is that only in 10th grade, or is it possible to combine algebra and geometry in 9th grade as well?
So no, that is only in 10th grade. A lot of Algebra 1 is kind of the basis of everything we do. So a lot of what you learn in Algebra 1 will be used in geometry and Algebra 2. Even though there is some geometry in Algebra 2, we felt that those two courses, there wasn't as much overlap. So it would be okay to take those side by side as a pathway to calculus.
The next question is for Ms. Bayless. It says the science courses have changed in the last 2 years. Which 9th grade science choice is the most rigorous, or which choice supports the most rigorous coursework for later years?
Ms. Bayless, I think you're breaking up a little bit.
So in terms of 9th grade and rigor, earth science and
Sharon, we're having trouble hearing you.
Different courses. And
Sorry. Ms. Moore, do you want to take that since her internet's a little problematic?
Sure. So
sorry,
Sharon?
better.
It's not. I think I can start it, and we can always add to. So I would say, they're different courses, or science, they're studying the earth without living things. They're studying geology, astronomy. Biology is the study of living environment is biology, so the study of living things. The only difference, they're both great courses. We ask students to think about what course they think they're going to meet with most success in. The teachers give their recommendations, their 8th grade teachers, for what course they think they'll do well in. The only difference to note is if a student is really thinking about wanting the opportunity to do the chemistry honors, they would need to have taken living environment in 9th grade. So that is one thing to keep in mind for the students. Okay, the next question is, what is the plan for the peer advocacy program if the same safety measures are in place next year?
I don't know exactly what the schedule will look like, so it's hard to really talk about how it might be different, but we'll adjust. We kind of adjusted to this, and I wasn't sure how we were going to pull it off, but we were able to. And I think it's worked out really, really well. We've just had a lot of kids participating, and it exceeded my expectations in terms of what we were able to do to kind of generate interesting conversations using the virtual realm. So I don't have any doubt that we'll work with whatever the schedule is and figure something out. So.
Great, thank you. The next question is, does the strings elective count as a credit?
I'll take that one. I believe in order for that to count as a credit, strings has to be taken for a minimum of 3 years because it only meets twice per cycle. In order for that to add up to a full credit, strings by itself has to be taken for at least 3 of the 4 years between 9th and 12th grades. Anything else to add to that, Lauren? I believe that's the calculation on it. Okay.
And I would just add that a lot of students will also choose to take an art class, and that art class would also fulfill that music and art credit for graduation. And regardless of credit or not, strings does go onto their transcript. So there is reflection that they've taken that course. The next question, I think was Mr. Hosier already answered, is about the New York State exams. Will they take place this year? Because they know they got canceled last year. Anything else to add, Mr. Hosier, I think?
No, I do expect that we'll have more information. Again, state exams aren't something that we control at the school level, but we know that there's urgency for them to make a decision, and we'll share information as it becomes available.
The next question, if somebody takes AP Music Theory in 11th or 12th grade, does that replace a science class or the world language class, or neither? It would depend on their schedule. There's room for an elective always through high school. So assuming they're not taking, depending on what their course load looks like, it wouldn't necessarily replace. It would be their elective in the same way they might have taken an art or music class in another year. Let's see. The next question was, for students who entered the Edgemont School District during the pandemic restriction, will there be any planned events to ease their transition into the community? Do you want to take it? Sure.
Sure. So, we're mindful of students. We're very, familiar with students coming to Edgemont, joining our community. The counselors, definitely try to connect them with student buddies and things like that. There's also a club, actually, I'm the advisor for. There's a cultural exchange / newcomers club that, tries to a couple of times a year at least invite the students and answer questions and questions for them. We host some events for them. We do a special tour for them. So we do our best to try to connect the new students to Edgemont.
Great. The next question was, are there additional electives for 10th through 12th graders that were not listed in this presentation? There are, and we have new electives that come up from year to year. That's one of the reasons that looking at the curriculum bulletin each year is really helpful. If you take a look at this year's, within it is all of the different courses we offer, along with descriptions of those courses. So you can read about those in more detail. And again, every year, for example, dance is a new elective for this year. In the past couple of years, as Ms. Matano mentioned, there was nutrition, becoming mindful. So we're always looking to add new courses that might be of interest. So by the time your children are in 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, there might be different classes being offered, but we always encourage you to look at the curriculum bulletin. And in addition, every year, just like we did this year, the counselors meet with the students to review their options for the following year. The next question is there still an alternative school program where students learn outside of just the classroom, and what years is that offered? I think we're referring to Phaedrus, which is our A school program. That's offered for students in grades 11 and 12. I know our 3 school psychologists work closely with the program as well. If one of you wants to kind of share a little bit about it.
I mean, there's an application process that's ongoing right now. And students fill out an application. They have an opportunity to sit in on classes to get a sense for what the program is like, which is a really nice feature of the application process, so that they know the application itself is fairly extensive. It's a decent amount of writing. And then decisions are made about those students. We work with those kids every week. There's twice a week, actually, doing various social emotional learning activities, drawing them closer together, kind of helping them to become a community, which this year was a challenge, but I think we did a good job with it. They did a good job with it. And it's a terrific program, but yeah, not available until the 11th grade. So something you'll be starting to think about, I would say, in like December of their sophomore year. And that's when the applications typically will come out.
And there's an information session for parents as well. So you can get information about it then too, yourselves.
Great. The next question is, what would dance be like? And connected to that, what is the plan for the class if students continue to stay home next year? I can take the question. So the dance class is, they learn various dance techniques, dance forms. They'll do actual dances if we're in person. If for some reason we're still hybrid, I'm not sure exactly what the plan is. I'm assuming that there'll be some sort of virtual, in the same way many students are doing dance out of school right now through Zoom sessions, I know. So we might do something similar with Google Meet. I'm sure we'll figure that out if we need to, if we are still remote. But if we're in person, be a great class for students to learn various dance techniques and styles. John, would you like to add?
Sure. I mean, if it helps to shed some light on what dance would be like next year, Mrs. Shar had identified interest from students who had defaulted into taking interest in students who had tried to take dance within the PE program. So that's an option within PE right now. You don't see it on students' schedules specifically listed as dance, but one of the subjects that they can study within PE is dance. And what ends up happening is the kids who are passionate about dance elect to take that when it comes around, and the kids who get bumped out of everything else because they're low people on the totem pole for whatever reason default into it, and you have this mix of people who want to be there and don't want to be there. So it's more of a formalization of, okay, do you want to take this class? Great. So now that all the people who are passionate and interested are in the same spot, I'm sure that whatever format we're in, we'll make fun with it, for sure. It'll be educational and exciting. You have all the people facing the same direction and heading forward confidently. There's nothing but success ahead.
Great. So that was actually the last question. I don't see anything else coming in. So we want to thank you for joining us this evening. We will, again, all of us, the department chairs, psychologists, counselors, administrators, if you have any questions after this, please feel free to reach out. And thank you for joining us tonight.